After 11 years of expectation, anticipation, or perhaps even dread, the Qatar World Cup is almost here. Back in 2010, FIFA awarded the 2018 World Cup to Russia, as is tradition, 7.5 years before the tournament, but also, for the first time ever, decided the following edition too, this year's Qatar World Cup. This is where the questions began and are still yet to stop. Never before has World Cup fever been so low just days before the tournament. Nearly half of people believe it will be the worst competition ever. So why is the World Cup there? And how have millions, including football fans, human rights groups, LGBTQ+ organisations, leaked reports and courts of law been bypassed for the greatest sporting competition on the planet to be played in Qatar? The country has been criticised for the conditions migrants have faced, with thousands of stadium workers dying in the last decade. Qatar bans same-sex activity for both men and women, and there is limited mixing in public between the two. Combine this with the less important issues that the country has never been known for its football, had no infrastructure suited for a tournament at all, and is too hot for football in summer. Qatar being awarded the World Cup was questioned from the very beginning. Let's go back to 2011 then, when attempts were first made to strip the Middle Eastern country of the tournament. Qatari Mohammed bin Hammam was told to step down from competing against Sepp Blatter for the FIFA presidency. Blatter allegedly did a deal with Qatar for the country to host the competition. In the 2015 FIFA corruption scandal, one of the many allegations was the 2011 presidential election, which led to Blatter stepping down in 2015. That was deemed sufficient at the time. Back in 2017, a FIFA report looking into the corruption claims was finally published after German paper Bild got hold of it. The report revealed there wasn't enough proof to say the World Cup was bought, though. And Qatar's neighbouring countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE and Oman weren't happy with the World Cup going to Qatar. There were hopes the competition could be shared and they tried to crash their economy, but Qatar survived this as well. So despite serious questions of legitimacy, the World Cup wasn't taken away. The figure of 6,500 migrant worker deaths since 2011, reported by The Guardian, is often used. Among the causes of these deaths, one predominated: death by natural causes, accounting for 70% of the causes cited for Indian, Nepalese and Bangladeshi workers. This was partly because no autopsy or medical examination had been performed to determine the actual cause of death. But the unfortunate reality is, when looking at the figure of 6,500, is that it only accounts for those from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Pakistan. French newspaper Le Monde said there are many deaths that have gone unreported to embassies and therefore can't be included, so the figure is far greater. Now, the fact the word death is so closely related to this World Cup does just not sit well with fans. It's led to some boycotting it completely. Matty Dorofsky from London is a groundhopper, a football fan who tries to get to as many matches across the country and beyond in a season. So why is he not watching a single minute of this World Cup?
Don't want anything to do with it, don't want to watch it, don't want to follow it. I think it's a travesty really, because there's so many different things you can pick to be outraged at. The fact it's in Qatar, whether it's the LGBT problems, the modern slavery, the fact that the hosting rights were given away corruptly, or the fact that Premier League and Football League calendars have been messed up because of it. And so I think instead I'm going to have to distract myself, maybe go to non-league football matches to get my fix of football.
As we heard from Matty, there are a host of issues in the lead-up. Qatar spells issues for LGBTQ+ fans as well. The country has very strict homosexuality laws. A Qatari World Cup ambassador, Khalid Salman, said fans have to accept our rules, saying homosexuality is damage in the mind. A truly shocking statement from someone trying to excite attending fans and those watching at home. 6 in 10 in the UK opposed this year's tournament solely because of the country's anti-gay laws. Trans footballer Paula Griffin is appalled the World Cup is in Qatar and also won't be engaging with it at all.
I don't feel I can be part of this World Cup. I suppose as myself, I mean, I wouldn't feel welcome going if I was travelling to watch these games. So if I couldn't feel welcome watching them in person, I don't think I could welcome engaging them on television or through any other media. I can't shut my eyes to what's happening in Qatar just because the World Cup's there for a couple of months.
So what is the football contingent that will be there saying? FIFA boss Gianni Infantino asked for a month-long ceasefire at the G20 summit to initiate world peace, wanting countries to think of the human rights of those currently stuck in conflicts around the world, just days after saying he'd like everyone to now stick to the football. Sounds a bit contradictory and a bit like sports washing, doesn't it? England flew in a jet called Rainbow to Qatar, and Spurs and France goalkeeper Hugo Lloris said he wants people to respect the Qatari culture like he would expect when visitors go to his country. These actions have been described as tone deaf by Paula.
That's frankly embarrassing. And England, I mean, I almost cringed. You know, we announced, we're flying on a Virgin plane with a gay symbol. I mean, to be honest, it's a white man who could, with a pair of rainbow trainers on, dragging a flag. I mean, it could be anyone. That's a perfect example of tokenism.
This World Cup has been scrutinised from the bid through to the migrant worker deaths and how they treat the LGBTQ+ community. But Qatar isn't even a footballing country, and it's having to be played in the winter because it's simply too hot in the summer. Football leagues across the world are taking an unprecedented 6-week break. This, of course, was an afterthought of the bid. This is just the cherry on top for looking past the clear issues with hosting an international football tournament in the country. But many other nations have faced pressure before: the 2018 Russia World Cup, the 2016 Brazil Olympics, and even the 2012 London Olympics. But as soon as the sport starts, all questions disappear. Matty and Paula hope fans won't forget what's happened in the run-up to the tournament.
I'd like to hope that they wouldn't, but judging by the reactions on social media and Infantino saying that we should focus on football now, kind of sends out the wrong message for the future. The most important thing is just to have the worst tournament imaginable, so that countries such as this know that they shouldn't do this to try and sports wash the horrible abuses that happen in their country.
We're forgetting totally about Qatar is there on the ground. We've got to live under this sort of regime. They're going to face the same police brutality, the same crackdown on just being themselves. That's not going to change because the World Cup's been there for a month or two.
Qatar have assured fans entering the country everyone will be welcomed and treated fairly. But to have to state this in the first place shows people are worried and aren't getting the same World Cup fever as normal. Sometimes the issues drown out when the tournament begins, so fan groups are adamant about keeping the pressure on Qatar because once the football starts, these issues don't stop.